Hey, good evening, everybody. What's happening? I'll give the internet a chance to jump on here and catch me up. All right, y'all know the question I open with. Jump in the comments. Tell me if you can see me, if you can hear me. So I'm not in my office here talking to myself because I've been known to do that. Connection looks a little choppy tonight. Let me see. Let me see how we're doing. Let's see. Let me get some shout outs while you guys tell me if you can see me and hear me all right. Amy Hogshead, who of course is our first comment tonight. Amy, welcome. Good to cyber see you, I guess. Teresa's here. Daryl Louth, long time no see, buddy. Thank you for your text message earlier. And it was a rough day. Daryl and I were at a funeral together, and I appreciate you being there for your family. Tim and Candy are in the house. Hey, Crystal, how you and Bill doing? Mike and Tina Bird, how you guys doing? I feel like I haven't seen you forever. Just been missing you guys. Hey, Suze. Matt Dyer. Matt Dyer's in the house. Matt Dyer, check out the shirt I have on. You see it? It's Batman, if you can't tell, and I'm sure Matt Dyer is in no way surprised to learn that. Dave and Amy Jessen are passing out vegetables today. Guys, look at this squash. This is the way men eat squash right here. So I'm going to be having me some squash and vegetables and things. I'm looking forward to that. So Dave and Amy, thank you for that gigantic squash. Let's see here. Who else I got? Social distance hugs from Teresa. Appreciate that. Dave says you can hear me. Awesome. Cool. All right. Glad you guys are here. All right. I promised you 3 things tonight, and we're going to do those 3 things. First of all, we're going to have a little Bible study on Judges chapter 3. So if you want to grab your Bible, we're going to talk about a couple of Old Testament heroes that I wager none of you may have ever heard before. They're not exactly, they're not exactly Daniel. They're not exactly David. They're not exactly Jesus. So we're going to look at some guys we don't hear from very often. Oh, man, we got a bunch of people jumping in. Hey, Margie and Doug, glad to see you guys. Doug, well, I got you here. Doug, are you the guy who gets communion servers? If you are, I need to talk to you on the phone about instructions for communion for next Sunday. And or not next Sunday, for the next Sunday we do it, which will be first Sunday in September. I'm saying that now because I've been meaning to call you for 2 days and I keep forgetting. So, Doug, if you're the communion guy, have Margie text me or you text me. Let me know. And I got a few things, instructions I need to run past you. Okay. So, Doug, Margie, glad to see you. Hey, Matt Clements. And Christina, how you doing? And Bob, appreciate you guys being here. So we're going to be looking at Judges chapter 3 and looking at some guys don't hear from often. Also, you may remember, and it's been a couple months back, when I was looking for things to destroy in the Tim Destroy section. And there was an interesting thing. Somebody, and I think it was Crystal Dove, I believe, suggested looking into Peter Popoff. The most horrible name ever, but that's the guy's name, Peter Popoff. Apparently, while I was researching that, and I had forgotten this with everything that's been going on, I signed up for some kind of newsletter or something from him, and I got one today. And we're going to go through this packet of awesome, and we're going to enjoy ourselves doing that and looking at Peter Popoff and how much money Peter Popoff wants from me. So we're going to do that. And then finally, in the last couple of minutes tonight, I am going to destroy political debates once and for all. After this section is put out on YouTube and my scathing commentary on political debates, they may be canceled forever. So I have 3 things tonight. 2 of them annoy me. The Peter Popoff thing annoys me, and this political debate thing annoys me, and I'm looking forward to destroying that. But I will say, the section from Judges chapter 3, I'm very much looking forward to, because I'm going to introduce you to 3 characters that you may never have heard of before. And having said that, I see now the party may begin because Joyce Koenig is in the house. And we know wherever Joyce is, the party just happened. So, Joyce, glad you're here. All right, so Judges chapter 3. The 3 characters we're going to look at are 3 judges. And their names are Othniel, Ehud, and Shagar. So there you go. Othniel, Ehud, and Shagar. Jump in the comments and tell me if you've ever heard those 3 names before. I just want to know if you ever even heard of them. Othniel, Ehud and Shamgar. And I'm probably not pronouncing Ehud. I probably got right, but the other two I probably am nowhere near correct. But these are the three guys we're going to learn about tonight: Othniel, Ehud, and Shamgar. Three heroes that God sent to deliver the people of Israel during trying times. Okay, Matt and Joyce have never heard of it. Anybody else? Othniel, Ehud, and Shamgar. Hey, Dave never heard of them. Okay. I'd heard of them. I mean, I'd done some study on them, but not anything in depth. And I thought, well, I was looking for a Bible. I wanted to get a scripture passage in tonight because sounds like I'm saying oatmeal. Nope, not oatmeal. It's Othniel. And it's Othniel, Othniel. And I'm assuming that's the correct pronunciation. And by saying I assume it is means it probably isn't. So, and oatmeal sounds really good, actually. I have to have some when I go home. All right, so those three guys we're looking at. Now, the reason I want to take time to look at these three guys, first of all, is I love bringing you guys stuff you hadn't heard of before. I don't know that I have ever preached a sermon over Othniel, Ehud, or Shamgar. So I love bringing new things to you guys and broadening your horizons. But the other reason I wanted to do this tonight was because these guys are important. What you're going to find out these three guys did is very, very important. And the role they play is very, very important. And sometimes I think we get the idea that, in the Bible story, if you're not going to be Daniel and you're not going to be David and you're not going to be, Elijah, or you're not going to be Jesus, or you're not going to be Paul, one of the big names, then your contribution is take it or leave it. And I say that's not correct. Because just because you may not end up being the star of the show doesn't mean that your role is not important. Othniel, Ehud, and Shamgar ended up making tremendous contributions to the people of God. And their stories are preserved in the Bible. I mean, that's saying something. And they don't show up on any favorite character lists. Maybe I could go talk to Phil and Leah. Phil and Leah are going to be having a baby here in about a month, and maybe I could suggest these names. You think they're having a daughter? You think Othniel Downs? That's a nice ring to it. Maybe I could suggest that to him. We'll see. But so, anyways, we're going to start in the book of Judges, chapter 3, verse 7. So, if you want to flip over to Judges, chapter 3, verse 7. I want to read to you about these three important guys, and I want to read in their honor because what they did is amazing. And not only what they did, but when they did it. It was a very significant time in the, sounds like a racetrack name, Othniel Downs. Yeah, it does. Yeah, it does, Matt. Maybe get to the starting line on that one. And and that becomes very important because it's been my experience doing this for, going on 25 years now, that God tends to raise up the heroes that are needed in the particular moment they're needed. And I think some of the time, not all the time, some of the time, God gives some of you in here a nudge because God's got heroic aspirations for you. And we don't respond because we don't think that our contribution or our abilities or our qualifications or our whatever is good enough to respond. And here I'm going to show you three guys or three individuals who did significant things because they responded in the way God wanted them to respond, when God wanted them to respond, how important that was. And you're going to see this, okay? And we're going to find out how important this is because of again, the timing is everything. I mean, that's a saying that's all over the place. And that's particularly the thing here. And how do I know that? Because Judges chapter 3, verse 7 tells us this. The Israelites did evil in the sight of the Lord. They forgot about the Lord their God, and they served the images of Baal and Asherah poles. Okay, so why did these guys become heroic at a significant moment? It's because everybody else forgot. That's what it says. So they were going through a time when the people of God forgot about God. I hope I don't need to explain to you what a poor idea that is. But they had gone through and they'd forgotten God, and they started to serve other gods, Baal or Asherah or whoever, and got distracted and forgot the Lord their God. And because of that, God says, fine. And in this next verse, we're going to find out how good my enunciation is because, well, let's see how this goes. Verse 8. Okay, so they've forgotten God. They're serving Baal. They're serving Asherah poles, all these things. Verse 8. Then the Lord burned with anger against Israel. Then he turned them over to King Cushan Rishathaim of Aram Naharim. I probably got exactly 0 syllables of that correct, but that's who he turned them over to. And the Israelites served Cushan Rishathaim for 8 years. And when the people so for 8 years, that means if Othniel, who's the first person we're going to write about, he rises to power, the situation that he rose to power to respond to would have began in 2012. Now think about how much stuff has happened. Think about where you were in your life in 2012. That's how long they were there. That's 8 years. If it started today, if this exile was started today, it would go on until 2028. Yeah, just think about it. We're as far from 2028 as we are from 2012. Isn't that weird to think about? But that's the period of time we're talking about. It's 8 years. And that's how far they'd fallen. So God let them go and deal with this for 8 years. Verse 9. But when the people of Israel cried out to the Lord for help, God raised up a rescuer to save them. Do you think he was excited about that? I mean, the rescuer, obviously, this first one's going to be Othniel. Do you think he was excited about that? Do you think it's something he was like, oh, pick me. Let me be the hero. Let me be the one who takes this all on. I mean, maybe. But, and again, we're not going to learn much about Othniel. We're only going to read about him for exactly 4 verses. 4 verses. That's all we're going to learn about Othniel. And he was the rescuer. So for an 8-year issue, an 8-year exile, an 8 year of the people of God being under control of a foreign power, 8 years, and the people finally said, we kind of messed up with those Asherah poles, and we shouldn't have gotten messed up with Baal, and we shouldn't have been involved in all this stuff. We really ought to go back to the one true God. Kind of thinking that's what we ought to do. And God said, okay, if you're serious about that, let me raise up a rescuer. Now, God didn't say, okay, I'll get you out. He said, I'm going to get someone to get you out. I'm going to empower someone to get you out. And in order for that to happen, somebody's got to be willing to stand up, friends. Somebody's got to be willing to stand up and say, yes. I hear God's call, and my response is yes. Yes, I'll do it. Yes, I'll go. Yes, I'll take on this challenge. And again, if Othniel doesn't say yes, I mean, we can say, well, God would go find somebody else. But how long would that take? They'd already been at this for 8 years. So for an 8-year exile, God said, I'm going to send a rescuer to save you. And God said, his name was Othniel, the son of Caleb's younger brother, Kenaz. Now, if you remember Caleb and Joshua, Caleb and Joshua were part of the search party that they sent in to spy on the promised land. They sent 12 guys in. 12 guys came back. 10 of them said, oh, my word, they're giants in there. We can't do this. And Caleb and Joshua were like, no, we think we can do this. And so now this is Caleb's nephew, it would be a son of his younger brother. So he's from Caleb's family. And he rose up, and God said, Othniel's the guy. And so that's who he's going to be. So when God said, Othniel's the man, and he's going to get you guys out of this mess, verse 10 tells us, the Spirit of the Lord came upon him. Okay, so he was now empowered by God's Spirit, and he was ready to go and do this thing. And came upon him, and he became Israel's judge. So he became the leader, what was known as a judge in those times. And so he determined what was going to happen. And what was going to happen is Israel was going to overthrow this foreign power that took them over. So verse 10, the Spirit of the Lord came upon him, and he became Israel's judge. He went to war against King Cushan-Risharathaim. Again, don't ever think that I'm pronouncing it right. Of Aram, and the Lord gave Othniel victory over him. Okay, so after 8 years, God said, let me raise up a rescuer. The rescuer's name is Othniel. Othniel was empowered by God's Spirit. He was all charged up, ready to go. He went to war, and he won. And that represents the extent of the details we're told about Othniel, right? Verse 11 says, so there was peace in the land for 40 years. And then Othniel, son of Kenaz, died. And thanks for playing. That's everything we know about him. I've told you everything the Bible saw fit to record. Now, why is that significant? It's significant because Othniel may be a not exactly a major player like David was, but what he did here was amazing. He led the people. The people of God were overthrown by a foreign power. Othniel then led them in fighting and throwing off that foreign power and reestablishing their freedom. God empowered Othniel to lead the people out of slavery, out of bondage, out of oppression, out of all these things. And the reason that that's an interesting thing is that we today may not recognize Othniel as a one of the major Bible characters. We've never had a sermon series over Othniel, and we've never had a nobody's written a Bible study about him. He may be mentioned in one or two if there was one on Judges, but he's not a guy who gets a lot of ink. But what he did was amazing, because he took 8 years of bad, and because of what he did, he followed it with 40 years of good. And that was all because he was able to respond to God's call. All right. Hey, Scott Moran. Hey, Jan. Glad you guys are here. Tina and Mike, side note question. How can you tell if it's God's call or your own strong desire to do something? The difference is God's Spirit. The point I'm making here is Othniel did not pull this off by himself, because they had been 8 years at this mess. They had been 8 years in this predicament. I'm completely certain that in 8 years' time, Othniel was not the first person to say, we really ought to kick these guys out. I'm sure he wasn't the first person to say that. But the difference here is that God God gave Othniel something that the rest of these guys didn't have, and that was God's Spirit. Othniel didn't do this because I have to assume this. He didn't do this because he wanted revenge. He didn't do this because he hated the people of Aram Narathaim. It wasn't because he hated those people. It wasn't anything. What Othniel wanted was he wanted something better for God's people. That's how you could tell if it's calling. And that's how he recognized what was going on, because what it was going to lead to was something better for God's people. It wasn't about Othniel's ego, because if it was about his ego, and Othniel was I have 4 verses to go on here, but my thought is, if he was kind of a chest pounder and a glory for me kind of guy, I sincerely doubt that we would only have 4 verses about him. He'd have made sure that something more got wrote down. But the fact that there isn't tells me there was no arrogance in this. There was no making a name for Othniel, because if that was his goal, he failed. He was only in it to help God's people. That's how you can know it's a call. Now, there are probably other qualifications along the way. Again, the anointing of God's Spirit was certainly a big part of determining that. But that's how Othniel could know that what was being asked for here was a command from God. So, Tina and Mike, does that answer your question? And while I'm waiting to hear back from you on that, let's go on. Let's hear about the second guy. All right. Next, we're going to read about Ehud. That's a great name, isn't it? Ehud. Sounds like a football player or something. So after, 8 years of captivity, Othniel then led the people to freedom. 40 years of good. Now, after 40 years of good, we go from verse 11 that tells us Othniel, son of Kenaz, died. That takes us over to verse 12, which says, once again, the Israelites did evil in the Lord's sight. What you'll find in the book of Judges, and I mean, it's not the only place, but you'll certainly find in the book of Judges, is how hard of a time the people had keeping on the straight and narrow. There was a lot of distraction, we'll call it, and so they stepped out of line with God's will, and God said, "Okay, fine. You know, I'm not gonna send calamity upon you. However, if you're making choices to go outside of my care and outside of my will and outside of what I want for you, I'm not necessarily going to rescue you from the trouble that's waiting for you out there. Here's the boundary. Here's where I think you ought to stay. If you stay there, things probably go pretty well. However, go outside of that, and I can't guarantee that things are going to be okay out there. And we're people, friends. We're just like children. You tell us where the line is, we got to find out what's on the other side of it. That doesn't change in us. That desire does not change in us. And so, of course, God set a boundary, and we had to bust through it. And we've been doing that since literally the dawn of time. So once again, the Israelites did evil in the Lord's sight, and the Lord gave them to King Eglon of Moab control over the Israel because of their evil. Eglon enlisted the Ammonites and the Amalekites as allies, and he went out and defeated Israel, taking possession of Jericho, the city of palms. And the Israelites served Eglon of Moab for 18 years. Okay? First time was 8, second time was 18. So things are going the wrong direction here. Again, if this would have ended today, it would have started in 2002. Now, my friends, think about how long ago 2002 was. Think about where you were in 2002. And if you would have went in captivity in 2002, you would just be getting out now. So that's a significant period of time. And especially in this day and age when life expectancy was not near what it is today, 18 years would have been nearly a generation. That's a high school senior from birth till graduation, 18 years. So that's how long they were under Eglon of Moab. Okay, so in 18 years, the people said, well, whatever it was we did, and we're not told what it was. Whatever it was we did, we probably shouldn't have done that. So they began to cry out to the Lord. But the people of Israel cried out to the Lord for help, and the Lord again raised up a rescuer to save them. His name was Ehud, son of Gera, a left-handed man of the tribe of Benjamin. Well, he came from good stock, right? From the tribe of Benjamin. So God raised up Ehud to say, all right, you're now the man. So the Israelites sent Ehud to deliver tribute money to King Eglon of Moab. So basically, Moab was, essentially charging taxes to the people, and I'm sure they were extreme. So they said, all right, Ehud, all right, we're going to get out all of our monies here. Where's our monies at? All right, Ehud, here's our monies. We're gonna give you our monies, and we want you to go and deliver this to king of Moab. Ehud said, all right. Verse 16. So Ehud made a double-edged dagger that was about a foot long. Keep that in mind. That detail is going to become significant. It was about a foot long, and he strapped it to his right thigh. Now remember, the man was left-handed. He strapped it to his right thigh. So the idea was he could pull it out this direction. Okay. Keeping it hidden under his clothing. He brought the tribute money to Eglon, who was very fat. Again, seems like an irrelevant detail, but it's going to become significant in a second. After delivering the payment, Ehud started home with those who helped carry the tribute. So, okay. So he and his boys were there. They said, all right, here's your money. And so they took the money, and then Ehud said, all right, we're out of here. So they started to leave. And he left with his boys. But when Ehud reached the stone idols near Gilgal, he turned back. Oh, hold up, guys. I forgot something. And he turned back by himself. He came to Eglon and said, I have a secret message for you. Now, King Eglon, who was this fat guy, said, oh, the guy who brought me money has a secret. All right. The money guy wants to tell me something secret. That's fine. So the king commanded his servants, "Be quiet," and he sent them all out of the room. So Fat King Eglon sent everybody out of the room. Ehud walked over to Eglon, who was sitting alone in a cool upstairs room. And Ehud said, "I have a message. Let me get this right. I have a message from God for you." As King Eglon rose from his seat, Ehud reached with his left hand, pulled out the dagger from his right, strapped to his right thigh, and plunged it into the king's belly. The dagger went so deep that the handle disappeared beneath the king's fat. So he stabbed him so hard he lost his sword. Plunged it into the king's belly. Dagger went so deep, disappeared between the king's fat. So Ehud did not pull out the dagger. Obviously, he's like, "You can keep it now. I don't really want it back." And the king's bowels emptied. That's a very graphic way of saying the king was dead, died nearly immediately. Then Ehud closed and locked the doors of the room. So remember, there were only two in there. Everybody was kicked out. Closed and locked the doors of the room, and he escaped down the latrine. Now what that means is in nicer home. I mean, we all have flush plumbing in our house. Again, that wasn't the way most people ever lived. They had a way where the king in his bedroom could go to the bathroom, and it would take this pipe that would go down and out. Well, what happened is after Ehud killed Eglon, he climbed down the latrine because he knew that would be the way out. So he climbed down the latrine and got away. Verse 24. Remember, everybody knows who's in there with him. After Ehud was gone, the king's servant returned and found the doors to the upstairs room locked. But they thought, we didn't lock this when we left. Remember, Ehud locked it. And they thought, well, he might be using the latrine in the room. Obviously, they knew the toilet was in there, so I thought, well, maybe he's going to the bathroom. So they waited. But the king did not come out after a long delay. So they waited, and thought, this it's going to be a significant amount of time. So they became concerned about what was going on, and they went and got a key. And when they opened the doors, they found their master dead on the floor. While the servants were waiting, Ehud escaped, passing the stone idols, which is where he told his boys to go on home. And that's when he turned around and went back. So he passed the stone idols on his way to Syria. When he arrived in the hill country of Ephraim, Ehud sounded a call to arms. He led a band of Israelites down the hill. "Follow me," he said, "for the Lord has given you victory over Moab, your enemy." So they followed him, and the Israelites took control of the shallow crossings of the Jordan River across from Moab, preventing anyone from crossing. That's significant because what that means is it cut off all their trade. Cut off their economy, cut off their food. That by controlling the shallows of the Jordan River, you couldn't use the river and you couldn't cross the river. And that was a significant strategic problem for Moab. Verse 29, they attacked the Moabites and killed 10,000 of their strongest and most able-bodied warriors. Not one of them escaped. So Moab was conquered by Israel that day, and there was peace in the land for 80 years. So Ehud was their next rescuer, and he rescued by taking on the king personally. And then he went on to lead the people to overthrow Moab and enable the freedom to come back. Okay. So that's the story of Ehud. Again, we have, what we got here? 18 verses. So we had 4 verses on Othniel. We have 18 verses on Ehud. But again, Ehud God anointed, led an overthrow of an 18-year exile that led to an 80-year peace. My friends, that is significant. We're talking about nearly a 100-year period there. We take the 18 years of exile and the 80 years of peace. That's 98 years that this guy named Ehud was responsible for. And that's a significant thing. But again, we don't study Ehud. And what I want you to see from this is how important these contributions are. We may not know who Ehud is. We may not, study him or learn a lot about him or have a Sunday school lesson on him. But what he did was he took multiple generations He freed one and led to generations of freedom. 80 years, friends. 80 years would be like, 3 or 4 generations anyways of freedom, because what he did, that's a significant time. And what I want you to see from Othniel and Ehud and Shamgar, who we're going to talk about in a second, what I want you to see from them is how important their contribution was. When God is calling somebody, there's no such thing as a small role or a small call. If God is calling you to it, there's a reason for that. Did Othniel think that he was going to be the one to lead the overthrow? Maybe, but there was no guarantees. Did Ehud think he was going to be able to kill the king and get out and lead this army? He didn't know he would. I mean, he probably hoped he would, but he didn't know it. But he had to step out in faith and do something that there is no training for. How to sneak a weapon into the king's palace. How to escape down the latrine. I mean, how do you know if you can do those things? But these men were willing to take it on faith. Because of that, ended up saving years and years and years, generations of people, for a story that we don't do much with anymore. And if you want to talk about not doing much with these stories, let's read about Shamgar. Would y'all like to know how many verses Shamgar gets? 1. Judges 3:31. After Ehud, Shamgar, son of Anath, rescued Israel. He once killed 600 Philistines with an ox goad. That's it. Killed 600 Philistines with an ox goad. What is an ox goad? I'm going to be honest with you. I had to look it up. It's basically that thing that they wear on their back so they can pull the plow. Basically, it's like a long pole. And what they would do is as the ox is walking along, they would kind of say, no, go this way. It's kind of how they guided the ox to get the ox to plow the field in somewhat straight lines. So they would kind of poke the ox if they want to go this way, and they'd poke them if they want to go that way. That's what it is. It'd be like a long pole with kind of a hook on the end. 600 of them with a farming implement. That's an impressive feat. Honestly, that seems to me like it should get more than one verse, but didn't. So whoever Shamgar was, he was judging. He was the judge of Israel. He was meant to keep the peace, and the Philistines apparently tried to become a problem, and Shamgar became an even bigger problem for them. Friends, what I want you to learn from this, and we're going to rotate on to our next topic tonight, and please jump in the comments. I've been kind of nice to not make you guys talk much tonight. These are major stories. These are major developments. These are important pieces of the history of God's people. And just because we don't, take a lot of time to study these things anymore, or we don't take a lot of time to, study these guys like we do David or Jesus or Paul or any of the rest of these guys, doesn't mean that their contribution is not important. And by their example, I want to say to you, especially during this time of COVID, and shutdowns and all this stuff, there are no small contributions. There aren't any. It could be something as simple as packing a box for Operation Christmas Child. It could be coming to help Jess with children's ministry some night. Obviously these 3 are very violent things where lots of people are getting killed, and I don't know that God's calling us to that right now. But the idea here is that if God lays it on your heart, there's a reason why, and the reason is bigger than you can comprehend. Othniel had no idea that he was about to take a 8-year exile and turn it into a 40-year peace. I doubt that Ehud knew that he was going to lead to an 80-year peace by killing the king and leading an uprising. I don't know that Shamgar realized that his fight against the Philistines was going to allow generations of God's people to grow up in peace. These guys could not know that, but God did. And that's why he called them in just such a way. So my friends, that's what I really want you to wrestle with here tonight as a part of our Bible study is how there are no small contributions. The only contributions that don't make a difference are the contributions that don't happen. It's the time that God gives you the nudge and you kind of push back. I'm like, I don't work well with kids, and I don't know if I can do public speaking. I don't know if I can join the choir. I don't know if I can do all these things. And what I want to say to you is, Othniel, Ehud, and Shamgar probably thought the exact same thing. Ehud's like, I'm not an assassin. I don't know how to do this. But God empowered him. And that's what would happen. Tim Dickey has a question. The Hebrews had a bad habit of forgetting about God and doing evil stuff in his eyes. What was it about Baal that would attack them? Oh, attract them. Okay, I see, Tim. And thanks, Teresa. What was it? I don't know. Variety is the spice of life. Our human need to push boundaries, our needing to have things proven to us every single day, or we automatically start to doubt them. Pick your reason. I mean, turn on the TV today and ask yourself why half this crap that's going on is going on. I don't know why we do these things to ourselves. We know how it ends. Never ends well. Yet we still continue to follow after things that are naturally destructive. And that's why Jesus in the Sermon on the Mount talks a lot about the dangers of self-destructive behavior, because there is nothing redeeming about it. There's nothing good about it. There's nothing that should make us go, wow, we really should abuse our bodies or look at people as objects or all this stuff. We really should go do that. God's like, yeah, that never ends well. And we know it never does, but we're still fall into that trap so easily. And I would say that was the attraction of Baal, is that whatever it was he was doing, he represented something outside of the bounds. And we love things outside of the bounds. And that's what led them into trouble. So, all right, we're going to wrap up here on Othniel, Ehud, and Shamgar. We're going to move on to this fundraising letter I got. But before I do that, I want to ask, are there any questions? Anybody else got a question or a comment about Othniel, Ehud, or Shamgar? Yep. No matter what they did, they were God's chosen people, Tim. That's exactly right. And thank God we can say the same thing about ourselves today. Because of Christ, we are God's chosen people, and nothing we can do can change that. Now, our experience of that might be radically different depending on what we do with it. If we can keep the Baals out of our life and keep the Asherah poles and, not do evil in God's sight, it'll probably go better for us. But our role as the chosen people of God, that doesn't change. Anybody else got a comment? I'd like to get a little more interaction here, Adi. I know I haven't asked many questions tonight, but so thanks, Dave. All right. Well, let's move on to just a moment here for this thing for Peter Popoff. Now, first of all, I want to say this right up front, and you all, this is not going to be shocking information to any of you, but I don't want this video to go out online without me saying this. I am not endorsing this. I am not saying you should sign up for it. In fact, I'm actively telling you not to sign up for this because I just did it because I'm morbidly curious sometimes, and I wanted to see what would happen. And what I got here is a bunch of heresy. I mean, I don't know what else to call it. So I don't want all of you to look at this tonight and then go and sign up for Peter Popoff's information. Don't do it. Don't do it. Okay. Let me have my fun with it here tonight, and then I'm gonna throw it away when I'm done, and we're gonna go on from there. All right. So don't do it. All right, so here, let me tell you what was in this envelope. And this envelope was pretty good size. I wish Angie Myers was here tonight because she was here when I opened it. First thing I got, as you can see here, are 3 envelopes. And you can tell all 3 of them are different colors. I got a green one, a blue one, and a red one. They correspond to a couple of things in here. I got 3 different response pages. Obviously, a green one, a blue one, and a red one. And I got 3 bands. A green one, a blue one, and a red one. Now, here's how this is supposed to work according to this. What is it here? This letter, which I'm going to summarize for you, is like 2 pretty good sized pages. What I am supposed to do, by what this does is he says. In fact, I'm just going to read this to you. When I awoke this morning, this is from Peter Popoff. When I awoke this morning, I began to think and pray about you and your loved ones. Me personally. Oh, nice. Oh, my brother, it was then that the precious presence of Jesus flooded my bed as I knelt in prayer. I had an experience like none other. A totally overwhelming spirit of love, power, compassion, and anointing came over me. I understood this to be the new anointing for financial blessings, healing, and spiritual breakthroughs needed by you to help you move in God's perfect plan for your life in the months just ahead. Months of decision. I can't rest until I share this anointing and God's plan for this vital and end time anointing deliverance with you. Okay, and he goes on to explain how all this is supposed to work. Okay, so here's what I'm supposed to do. In order to receive this blessing, and if you look on here, on the front of these envelopes, it's printed right on the front of them. I'll hold them up here so you can see them. The first one says, I hope you can read it. It says, I am believing in my financial miracle. I'm sorry. It says, I am releasing my financial miracle in August of 2020. Mail this back to me tomorrow. Okay, so this is the green envelope. So what I'm supposed to do is I'm supposed to wear this band for an entire day, pray for God's blessing. At the end of the day, I take this off. I put this in this envelope like this, and then I fill out the little response card. And the response card, the green response card, has on it, I must have this back with your green circle of God's love after you've worn it tonight only. I'll return the green circle of love to you with a word concerning the need that you print below. So I'm supposed to fill this out with what my financial need is. Friends, I just spent a week in the hospital down at OSU Medical Center. You can imagine what I could put there. So it says, Brother Benjamin, as soon as I receive this back, I'll enter my secret prayer chamber. Reverend Popoff. Now, this is the very next line. Okay, so as soon as I receive this, I'll enter my secret prayer chamber. Reverend Popoff, enclosed is my gift of $35, $25, or other. I'm believing for a 100-fold harvest return. So if I send him a check along with the band I wore and this, and a check for this, we're hoping for 100-fold. So if I send $35, I'll get, what would that be? $350? No, it'd be $3,500 back. Okay, that's what's supposed to happen. So that's the first one. The second one then is the blue one. And the blue one says, I wear this one for 7 days. And after 7 days, it says, I must have this back with your blue circle of God's love after you've worn it for 7 days. In my secret chamber of prayer, God will speak to me about your spiritual needs and your healing. I will return your blue circle of God's love with a word concerning these needs. Reverend Popoff, this is my spiritual need. So much like the financial need from before, I fill out, here's my spiritual need. It says, Brother Benjamin, as soon as I receive this, I'll enter my secret prayer chamber. Reverend Popoff, encloses my gift of $25 or $20, and I'm believing for a 100-fold harvest return. So this time I'm going to send him another check for $25, which apparently I've just done, along with the blue band, and I hope for a 100-fold return. Okay, so 1 night for the green, 7 nights for the blue. Now I go on to the red, which is the red band I have here. Now I have to pray for loved ones who need deliverance. I must have this back 14 days from today with your red circle of God's love after you've worn it for 7 more days. Give me the first names of loved ones who need deliverance. So I can put down on there names of people and their relationship to me that I want to, that he wants, or I want him to pray for. Brother Benjamin, as soon as I receive this, I'll enter my secret prayer chamber. I mean, he's going to spend a lot of time in there for me. And I'll return the red circle of God's love to you with a word of prophecy concerning each of these loved ones. I also saw the hand of God touching the foreheads of your loved ones and their healing by faith. Reverend Popoff, encloses my gift of $25 or other. Can I read that to you again? Listen to this. As soon as I receive this, I'll enter my secret prayer chamber. Then I'll return the red circle of God's love to you with a word of prophecy concerning each of your loved ones. Okay? Listen to this next sentence. I also saw the hand of God touching the foreheads of your loved ones and their healing by faith. Friends, I haven't written anybody on this yet. How could he have seen the hand of God touching the foreheads of my loved ones when I haven't decided who my loved ones are yet? I mean, maybe he already knows, and if so, why do I have to write them down? I don't know. But at this point, I've sent him $85, because it was 35, 25, and 25, because it says here, get my clothes is my gift. And he's entered the prayer chamber to pray for my financial hardship, my spiritual hardship, and my concern about loved ones. My friends, we have a word for this in our day and age. This is called extortion. Stuff like this gives all the people who do what I do for a living a bad name. And I'm pointing this out to you, first of all, because he sent it to me. And second of all, please don't fall for this stuff. If you want somebody to pray for, if you have to pay somebody to pray for you, look, and I know I'm a professional. I get paid to work at the church, but I pray for you for free. It's not like I go to the BLT meeting the third Monday of the month and say, look, I prayed for 116 people this month. And, so you owe me more. I wouldn't even think of that. So, this is emotional and spiritual extortion. And friends, it's evil in every sense of the word. So the reason I bring this up to you is this is the kind of stuff that's out there. When people who don't go to church think of church, this is what they think of. And that breaks my heart, because we here at Wayne Street and other churches I've served, and I know we're not the only church that this is true of. We're about helping people to get transformed lives, introducing them to Jesus. And I get it. I like for the air conditioner to be on. I like this computer that the church bought for me and the internet connection that you guys provide. All that costs money. I had to put in a call to Ginsburg this week because we're trying to update some of our sound system, and I have no clue what I'm doing. So I called for some guidance. Obviously, sound equipment ain't free. So there's going to be some costs with that. Yes, so it takes money. And I think there's a reasonable expectation that people who believe in the ministry of the church are going to be financially faithful and generous as God calls them to be. If they aren't, then there's going to be certain things we're not going to be able to do. But I don't mind being honest about. Obviously, I don't mind being honest, but I don't mind being honest about the expenses of the church and how church doesn't run for free. I'm totally cool with that. We pay some just absolutely dynamic employees around here. I mean, you all got to hear Phil preach for the past couple of weeks while I was out. He did just a bang up job. We get to hear Daryl and Josh lead us in music. Jess working with the kids as much as she's able to get them together. I got two wonderful ladies who work in the office down here. I got two guys who do some cleaning around the church. And then just a boatload of volunteers. It takes all these people to make it happen, but none of it's free. And I understand that. At the same time, I would never use an emotionally manipulative thing such as this to try to get money out of you. And the reason I wanted to go over this is I just want you to see this is the taste in the mouth of people who don't come to church. This is where they get it. And honestly, I think the people who hate the church and hate God and are anti anything faith-based do less damage than this man does. Because look, they're wide open. Look, we hate it and we hate the church and we don't want anything to do with it, and we don't want anybody else to have anything to do with it. At least they're open about what's going on. This guy is fleecing people, and that just bothers me. So, all right. Anybody got any comments about our friend Peter Popoff? Well, I go ahead and circular file this. I don't want it in my office anymore. I think of the church as an extension of my home. They both take money to operate, and both are filled with the family I love. That's a great way to say it, Teresa. And we pray for free. Anybody else ever had a run-in with this Peter Popoff character? Somehow it makes me curious as to how they continue to function. Okay. Oh, dang. I had a video queued up and my thing messed up here. Hold on. All right, everybody on here, around here, good. All right, you guys are being real quiet tonight. All right, the last thing, I got 11 minutes. In 11 minutes, I would like to destroy political debates. And I don't, look, I'm not being political here. Yeah, file 13. That's where I filed that thing. No, Tim, I did not get any of the miracle water. No, I did not get that. And that's what I kind of thought that might be. But yeah, because that was the miracle water, I think is where that question started. And no, I got no miracle water. I guess I'm not worthy. I don't know. Or maybe I haven't sent in enough checks, which I'm not sending in any checks. So, all right. I don't want to get too political here, but I am going to talk about obviously the Democrat National Convention is going on right now. And there's a video clip that was floating around that YouTube has purged, but I got a copy of it and I got it queued back up here. That's going away. That just annoys me. It annoys me so bad. And I as soon as I saw it, I said, yeah, we're gonna have to address this on Wednesday night because I am annoyed by this. I want to talk about, and again, I don't care, Republican, Democrat, I don't care what you are. I love you anyways. Politics is whatever it is. I certainly have my slants and my opinions about things, but I'm not endorsing anything. But I am going to tonight. I'm going to rip on Joe Biden picking Kamala Harris as his running mate because that just annoys me. I'm annoyed by that because of what's happened. Again, he can pick whoever he wants. It's his prerogative. But what I'm annoyed by on this is I watched some of the early on Democratic debates when they had the whole stage full of Cory Booker and all those guys, and Kamala Harris tried to eviscerate Joe Biden. And again, the Reader's Digest version of this is she just tried to sink him during the debate. And Scott says, I have some rubber bands you can have. Yes, but I'm not sending you any checks for those rubber bands, Scott. So just so you know. She tried to eviscerate Joe Biden. And what she did is she ripped on his opposing the busing policy that integrated schools back in the day. And, her thing was that he was a racist because he opposed integration of schools and they were busing kids. And Kamala Harris was one of the people who was bust into a school to help integrate a school. And she made a big stink about that. She also made it clear that during the big Me Too movement, when Joe Biden was accused of, misconduct with a lady, she said she believed the accusers. So she accused him not only of being a racist, but being a rapist, which, honestly is far worse. And so she said she believed the accuser. And when you say you believe the accuser, then he must have done what he was accused of doing. And I'm not going to get into any descriptions of that. I'm just going to leave it there. So she just eviscerated him on stage, just tore him to shreds. And to the point that I was even like, holy cow, is Joe Biden even going to get this nomination after some of the stuff that she's kind of threw at him on the stage? Because it was vicious. Now, you can say what you want about Kamala Harris, friends. She is a prosecutor, man. She knows how to eviscerate people. She knows how that works. And so she just absolutely threw a haymaker at him. And to the point that I didn't know if old Joe Biden was going to be able to come back from that. So all that happened. Joe Biden had his list of qualifications and people he was considering for vice president, and he chose Kamala Harris. I'm saying that was a poor choice because let me just say, if one of my employees would accuse me of being a racist, and legitimately accuse me of being a racist, and then somebody made an accusation against me and that employee would have said, well, I believe the accuser, that person's probably not going to work here very long, or else I'm not going to work here very long, one or the other. And I just don't know how you can come back from that. Now, the people who work for me could come in here and say, look, Tim, this sermon, I'm just not sure yet. Fine, I'm totally cool with that. Or they can come in and say, I think this policy or that idea or this thing that you said or that thing that you did, I had a problem with that. I'm totally good with that. I have a very open relationship with all the people who work for me. And we look each other in the eye and we talk to each other and we fight and everything else. And we work things out. At least I feel like I have that relationship with every single person who works here. And if one of you disagrees with that, now please come talk to me. But I feel like we have a pretty open relationship. But I don't have them running around making accusations about me. And I don't know how well I would deal with that. I don't know that I would want to deal with that. I'm not sure I would deal with that. Okay, so Kamala Harris did this thing where she just absolutely just threw hand grenades at Joe Biden and absolutely destroyed him, accused him of being a rapist, of being a racist, and just all the stuff and destroyed him. Now, the obvious question everybody wants to know is, Kamala, how did we reconcile this? You're a prosecutor. I mean, you put people away for doing things that you say you think Joe Biden did. Now, look, whether he did or not, I don't know. I find some of the accusations against Joe Biden to be a little hard to believe. So I'm not putting any stock in that. But Kamala Harris publicly said she did. And so now for her to turn around and say that, she's going to there's an obvious question now that she has to answer. You're working for a racist rapist by your own admission. How do you reconcile that? Well, she was on an interview with Stephen Colbert. Stephen Colbert is kind of a clown. He's a comedian. He's not funny, but he that's what he does. So whatever. So he's getting interviewed by her, and he asked the obvious question. You really threw some haymakers at old Joe Biden. What changed your mind? And I'm actually going to play the clip because I could not do any more justice to this than what happens here. I'm going to play this and I'm going to comment on it. We're going to finish this up here in 4 minutes. Okay. So I'm going to do this. Is Biden doing the old keep your friends close and enemy close? Honestly, Matt, that's the best explanation for what I see going on here. Okay. That's the best explanation that I could think of. All right. But here is her response. And this is why I'm destroying political debates tonight, is because of this answer.
In those debates, you landed haymakers on Joe Biden. I mean, his teeth were like chiclets all over the stage. And now I believe you that you're fully supportive of him. How does that transition happen? How do you go from being such a passionate opponent on such bedrock principles for you, and now you guys seem to be pals?
Okay, that's an appropriate question. That's a question she should be asked. You were throwing haymakers. You were trying to destroy him. You were doing all this stuff. Okay, so I'm like, okay, Colbert, you and I may not see eye to eye about stuff, and I don't really think you're that funny, but that's a good question. Okay, I'm giving you credit on that. That's a question she should have to answer. I would like to play you 30 seconds of her answer.
A debate. Not everybody landed punches like you did, though.
It was a debate.
So you don't mean it?
It was a debate. That the whole reason, literally, it was a debate. It was called a debate.
I understand.
Traveled to the debate. There were journalists there covering the debate, where there would be a debate.
How many times did she say it was a debate? I didn't count. But yeah, if you were doing some kind of drinking game of her doing a debate, you'd have alcohol poisoning right now. Friends, here's the problem. What she's saying is I didn't think any of it. We do debates so we can destroy each other. That's all I was doing. It's all everybody else does. And for that reason, I am destroying political debates, because she admitted that she didn't mean any of it. And I'm telling you what, if somebody came up and accused me of being a racist or a rapist and said, later said, I didn't mean it, I'd be more mad. Because the only reason to do that is because you want to destroy somebody. And for her to say, it was a debate, we all do that. Well, then maybe we should quit. If that's all political debates are, is we're just trying to kick each other, I'm done with the whole thing. I'm so annoyed. I'm so annoyed by that. Because she basically admitted that she made an accusation she didn't believe. And she did it for political interest. And that is wrong in every way the word wrong can be defined. And that just drives me up the wall. Friends, I don't care what your political leanings are, and I don't care. Don't ever do this ever. Don't ever try to get political mileage out of trying to say stuff about somebody that you don't believe or you don't have a good reason to say. If she didn't have good reason to say, I believe the people who accused him of doing these things, then don't say it, because that's wrong. And now I have to question everything Kamala Harris says because she said, I said this thing I didn't mean. I mean, Colbert even says that. He even says, oh, so you didn't mean, when you said he was a racist? It was a debate. Is that what we're going to do now? I'll just run around and say, I think you're something's wrong with you, and I don't like how you behave. And it'd be, oh, I didn't mean it. It was a debate. I just, I was venting, right? Is that how we're going to do this? Because the whole world is dumb already, and that makes us all dumber. And when she starts to laugh, she's lying. Yeah, I was watching Ben Shapiro earlier today, and he says the Cesar Romero laugh, which I thought was hilarious. Cesar Romero is the guy who played Joker on the TV show Batman. I thought that's a perfect, because that's what she sounds like. She sounds like Cesar Romero's rendition of the Joker from the 60s Batman show. So Joy says, up until recently, I had not heard her say anything good about Joe Biden. Was shocked when he chose her. Yeah, I was shocked too. Yeah, when you have to make somebody look bad and make yourself look good, that is so wrong. Yes. And that is exactly what's going on here. And look, the Republicans are just as guilty of this as the Democrats are. This is not a Democrat thing. It's just they're the ones that, got caught with their hand in the cookie jar on this one. But, the Democrats are smearing Trump all over the place. Trump is kicking back against the Democrats. We need to be better than this. We need to expect more of our leaders than this. I mean, last night at the DNC, Bill Clinton was lecturing about things that should go on in the Oval Office. My word, anybody who was alive in the 90s know what a joke that is. I just maybe we need God to raise up an Othniel for us, or an Ehud, or a Shamgar, because what I see going on here in politics, man, you're in so much trouble. So anyways, I'm telling you this now so that for the rest of the next 4 months we get to do this until the election in November. There is way too much hatred in politics, Tim Dickey. You could not possibly be more right. And that's what it is. It's hatred. It's not disagreement. It's not, I don't agree with you in how you want to do this. It is, I hate you. And gosh, what a joke. What a complete joke. And it just bugs me to death. So anyways, the reason I wanted to destroy this tonight was because this is just getting started. The next 4 months, while we're all quarantined, you can't do anything else because we're not allowed to go outside or do anything fun. And now we can't, do anything but watch political ads on every single venue that it could possibly be on. It's going to get worse. So what I want you all to take from this tonight is ignore it. Ignore the whole thing. Because all they're doing is trying to destroy each other. They're not trying to tell us anything. They're not trying to edify us. They're not trying to help us see their point of view. None of that. They're not doing any of that. All they want to do is eviscerate the other person in whatever way they can, and whatever they got to make up to do it, they're going to. And yeah, Marge, leave the TV off. That's good advice. So anyways, that's what I wanted to get through to you guys tonight. And I want you to know that I am aware of these things. And nobody runs on merit, Scott. And that is 100% of the problem. It's all smear campaigns. I don't care why I shouldn't vote for the other guy. I don't want to vote for somebody because I'm voting against somebody else. That's not what I want. Thank God for the off button on the remote. I'll give a what up to that, Joyce. That's good. Politicians need to learn that they cannot dispel darkness with more darkness, and you can't dispel hate with more hate. It seems real simple when you say it that way, Tim. I don't know why we can't figure that out. Crystal agrees with Marge. That's right. Turn that TV off. Teresa says, thanks for shedding light on these subjects tonight. We need his light to light our path because we can't trust the Baals of the world. Yes. True statement. Dropping the truth bomb there from Teresa Bitters. That's where we are. And friends, I need you as the people of God to see through this stuff. I need you to see through the politicians. I need you to see through the Peter Popoffs. Look for the Othniels. Look for the Ehuds. Look for the Shamgars. The people who are telling you the truth. The people who truly have the anointing of the Spirit upon them. Those are the people you need to go and listen to. That doesn't mean they're always going to agree with you. That doesn't mean that you should only hear things that make you happy to hear, because there are some messages out there that are hard. But if we get distracted by the Peter Popoffs of the world who are trying to sell us prayer, or the politicians who are trying to sell us whatever the crap they're trying to sell us, we're going to end up missing the anointed ones that God's raising up, missing the Ehuds in the mix. You know, we're going to get down to, you got Shamgar who killed 600 Philistines with an ox goad. We're going to miss that because we're worried about who's flinging mud at who. And so my hope is that this last hour that I've been mouthing off about all this is that it's a wake-up call to all of you to be paying attention, because God is moving. There are Othniels out there. They're out there. The problem is they have a hard time being louder than everybody else. And they can't be as flashy as everybody else. And they can't draw as much attention as everybody else. But they're out there. And we need, as the people of God, we need to be searching for them. They're not politicians. They're not, they're not going to be the flashiest ones. They're not going to be getting interviewed by Cardi B or anything stupid like that. We are going to be, the Othniels of the world are just out there serving, making a real difference to real people in real situations. And that's what happens when God raises up a leader, not when a leader raises themselves up. So, all right, that's my rant for that tonight. I think that's good enough. Let's see who we got here. Miriam agrees with Tim Dickey, as I do as well. Amy says, yes, please drop a thumbs up on the video tonight. That helps us with the YouTube search engine. And Marge is giving me an amen, and I always appreciate that. So, all right, I know I'm a little over tonight. Anybody else got anything for the good of the order? Did you enjoy this discussion? I feel like I talked an awful lot, but this is the first week I've actually felt good again, and it's nice to be able to come back and do this. Thanks for being an oatmeal. Now, oatmeal, but I do like oatmeal, so I'm cool with that. Thanks, Bob. Joyce, it couldn't be any better to be back. And, clarity. I love giving clarity. Thank you, Miriam. So, yeah, I want to help you all see, because there's a lot of noise going on out there, man. Just an unbelievable amount of noise that's happening everywhere. And I hope that that noise doesn't cover up the Othniels of the world. So, all right, guys, very good. I appreciate y'all coming out tonight. It feels good to be back. I'm going to have to be entirely honest with you, and I hope God will